I am irritated. I'm pissed. I've been like this for a little while. And I've got a bone to pick with certain parts of this fan base. But before I get into it, smash that like. If you like what you're watching, please consider subscribing. Although I think I'm going to get a lot of thumbs down on this video. Before I get into it, understand this disclaimer. If you take anything from this video, understand I love my team. I love this franchise. And to the day I die, I will be a diehard Giants fan. Understand this. Understand that. With no further ado, let's get into it. I can't stand the overwhelming negativity in this fan base. And I'm going to give a rebuttal to all the negativity. There's guys that want to hit the panic button. And there's a reason why I root for the current iteration for the Giants the way I do. And how if this does not succeed, I view the future far more bleak than even the most negative Giants fan could possibly fathom. Because a lot of these negative Giants fans are always peering over the fence and telling me how green the grass is. Telling me about the future and what could be in their deluded eyes. I view it bleak. And there's numerous reasons why. A lot of these same negative Giants fans like to tell me this is the worst it's ever been. No, it's the worst it's ever been in your lifetime. The worst it's actually been in, I don't know if you could be a fan during that time, is from 1964 into 1980, where the Giants, now barring if my math is correct, we had a 79 and 156 record. 79 wins to 156 losses, where we didn't make the playoffs once, and a handful of times we finished second in the division. And it basically took the NFL gifting us George Young to turn things around. And you could argue they didn't turn around until basically 84. The only reason I won't argue that is because we made the playoffs in 81. And arguably could have been worse. 14-game season schedule, and it turned to a 16-game. So that's first. My first question to you is, could you fathom almost 2 decades of sucking? Because you could be in that. Did that ever cross your brain? But if that's not enough, let me pose another question to you. Do you think ownership is capable of making the outside hire you want, even though they've shown the propensity to hire in-house? There is a scenario where even if you celebrate Dave Gettleman's firing or eventual firing, potentially, they hire Kevin Abrams. Do you really think the assistant GM under Jerry Reese and Dave Gettleman is the answer? I surely don't. For everybody who hates Daniel Jones and automatically after 17 games wants a new quarterback, I got a question for you. It doesn't matter if you favor Justin Fields, Trey Lance, or Trevor Lawrence. There's a reason why I root for Daniel Jones, and I pray he's the guy. Because I understand it is really hard to find your franchise QB. Ask the Cleveland Browns and ask the Chicago Bears. Chicago Bear fans, there's a reason why they are in love with Jim McMahon, who wasn't a very good quarterback in his own right. And there's a reason why the Cleveland Browns have still been trying to seek a quarterback since Bernie Kosar. Arguably. It's hard to find a quarterback in this league. But not only that, the way ownership and these GMs have built around these quarterbacks is a travesty over the last 8 years. Either Eli Manning in his prime or the Daniel Jones in the beginning. There's a reason why I argued for Pat Shurmur. Because I know it's unfair in a quarterback's second season to throw a new offense at him. I've never seen a quarterback succeed that has had constant turnover with offensive coordinators or hiring and firing of their head coach in a brand new system brought in. It's a disaster waiting to happen. It's a disaster to you, potentially, if you want a new quarterback. This is, again, why I view the future so bleakly, even if that's a word. But that's regardless. Let me pose this scenario. If we hypothetically draft Justin Fields, Trey Lance, or Trevor Lawrence, there's a scenario where I see Joe Judge getting fired next season with another bad season because the impatience by your messed up ownership. Is it really fair to your next young QB to introduce them to a new offensive system when you've watched guys like Jameis Winston and potentially Daniel Jones fail from that exact same scenario? This is why you don't do it to a young QB. And a lot of people will tell me, oh, well, look what Joe Burrow's doing. Look at what Justin Herbert's doing. At least Cincinnati has weapons. And I laugh when people say, oh, look at what Herbert's been doing. You do realize he has a playoff roster around him, right? You know, 2 years ago under Philip Rivers, they were in the playoffs, right? And that they had a down year and moved off of Philip Rivers and drafted their quarterback because they have the playoff roster around Justin Herbert. Right? You do know that, right? Okay, as long as you understand that. The fact of the matter is, I view this bleakly. This is why I root for the current iteration of the Giants the way I do. Because the future isn't any brighter. Either way, it's been OGR, and I'll catch you on the next vid.